is the homework helper for Chapter 8, Section 2 in the 7th grade workbook, Classify Angles. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first three questions. In the first three questions, they're asking us to tell whether the angle is acute, right, obtuse, or straight. So let's make sure we know what this means. Acute implies that the angle is less than 90 degrees, but it obviously would have to be bigger than 0. It has to be something, obviously, in terms of measurement. A right angle means that it's exactly 90 degrees. Obtuse implies that it's bigger than 90 degrees. But it's going to be less than a straight angle, and a straight angle is exactly 180 degrees. So we can go back and finish off obtuse by saying, but less than 180. So kind of the benchmark here is going to be that right angle, because that right angle is going to tell us a lot. If we see a line is obviously going to be a straight angle. But we're going to talk about a right angle here because we can compare everything to it really well. Right angle is making an L shape or a T shape with your hand. So go ahead and make an L shape or T shape with your hand. That's a right angle that you're forming there. If it's smaller than an angle, pulling your fingers together, that's going to be acute. If you pull your fingers farther apart than that, that's going to be an obtuse angle. So as we look at question number 2, we see that when we make that L shape and pull our fingers together, that kind of looks like what we're seeing there in number 2. It's less than 90 degrees. So number 2 is going to be an acute angle. And you'll proceed with naming the angles in the same way for questions 1 and questions 3. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next block of questions here. The next block of questions is relying on the illustration that you see there. And what the directions say is we're supposed to use the diagram to tell whether the angles are complementary, supplementary, or neither. Now, we have to make sure we know what these mean. That would be helpful. Complementary implies that 2 or more angles that add up to make 90 degrees. Exactly 90 degrees, not less than 90 degrees, not more than 90 degrees, not something around 90 degrees, exactly 90 degrees. Supplementary implies that 2 angles or more add up to 180 degrees. So together they make what is in essence a line, a straight angle. Neither is going to be any other pairing that adds up to anything that's not 90 or 180. Even if it's 181, 171, 91, or 89, any other number that's not 90 or 180 is going to fill in the definition of neither. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these here. In question 4, they're asking about angle AQC. Well, let's make sure we see where that is. Follow from A to Q and then up to C here. So that's this angle here. And then they're asking about GQC, which starts at G, follows to Q, and then goes up to C. So that's this angle here. Well, as you can see, if we add those two guys up, they make the full distance of the protractor. Well, protractor is a half a circle, or 180 degrees. Together, if we add these up, if we kind of ignore the lines that are in the middle, when we add these up together, they end up making a straight line, or 180 degrees, straight angle. So if they add up to make 180 degrees, then by definition, that means they're going to be supplementary. Now as we take a look at number 5, which is the other one I'm about to do with you, they're asking about angle BQD and DQE. So if we're talking about BQD, that starts at B, follows to Q, and then goes up to D, so that's this angle right here. And then DQE starts at D, follows to Q, and goes up to E. So if we kind of ignore the line that we've highlighted in red there in the middle, we've got here from this marker at B, which if we look at the protractor there is at 10 degrees, and goes over here to E, and over here at E is 110 degrees. Well, we can do a little subtraction. If we're going from 10 to 110, that's a difference of 100 degrees. Well, if there's 100 degrees difference between those two, that doesn't make anything. So here the answer for number 5 is going to be neither. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at a few questions at the bottom now. Very similar questions here. In 9 and 10, they're talking more about the idea of supplementary and complementary angles. So again, same definitions we talked about earlier. Supplementary that we see in 9 and 11 implies that two or more angles add up to make 180 degrees. Complementary that we see in 10 and 12 implies that we have angles that add up to make 90 degrees. So, in number 9, they're saying that W and X are supplementary. They add up to 180 degrees. W is 37 degrees. What is the measure of angle X? So they're saying we've already got 37 degrees. And if they're supplementary, that means they add up to 180. So how many more degrees would I need to get up to 180 there? So that's really simply asking us to do 180 minus 37. And when I do 180 minus 37, I end up with a result of 143. So X has to be 143 degrees, because 143 degrees plus 37 degrees is how I'm going to make my 180 degrees. The last one I'm going to do with you is 10, but you can see 11 and 12 repeat because it's supplementary and complementary again. So do the same thing in 11 and 12 that we're doing here in 9 and 10 for the respective question. In 10, it says S and T are complementary. If S is 64 degrees, what is the measure of angle T? So I'm asking you, how many more degrees do I need to get up to 90 degrees? Well, I already have 64 degrees. How many more do I need to make this go up to 90? So again, a little bit of simple subtraction, 90 minus 64. 90 minus 64 changes into 26. So angle T has to be 26 degrees, because 64 degrees plus 26 degrees is how I'm going to get my complementary angles that add up to make 90 degrees. And that's it. That's all you're doing here in worksheet 8.2 for classifying angles.